day for jobs, and we're all pals. Like, we actually don't know anything about each other.
Well, when you're talking about turnstiles, when you were at Bonnerig on Saturday, they didn't even have turnstiles.
No.
You just walk in.
It was a man.
Boy just takes money off you, and then you just go into the game.
And it gave you a raffle ticket.
I think on the contrary, I think you'd probably be surprised to learn that I actually have a job in the first place. That I don't actually just sit and watch movies all day and post on Instagram.
That's all you do. Your film knowledge is just like incredible.
I am paid to do things other than watch Cabin in the Woods and other things. But if anybody wants to pay me for that, I mean, what's my fee for this again tonight?
Same as us.
We'll give you.
I'll cut out some of the stuff you were saying in between the episodes, so you're not missing it.
Okay.
We'll give you a pound if you get some beer. If you get
6 beers.
Okay. I'm a cheap date. I really am.
Well, this is date number 2 with you and Paul.
Well, 4 technically.
4 with the rest of the time.
Yeah. So we get 2 dates a night and over 2 nights.
What base are we getting to tonight, John?
I was thinking about saying something earlier, but this went completely out of my mind. I'm taking my notes as we go up, so I'm saying who gets what tonight. I'm not sure. I'll show you after call.
I reveal.
Dubs will get just slightly less because it is our first date.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a slag. You know. So.
No comment.
The way the culture is the new, you just need to watch yourself. Eh? You need to make sure you've got the green light.
Yes.
You've got my.
I do like your track top that you've came back with.
Yeah, I got changed because I was sweating that much.
I tell you, don't be nervous. I'm just as nervous as you.
I just get so animated talking about like cabins and woods and stuff.
And also movies.
Yeah, which is why we're here.
Sorry I don't speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun! You fucking moron!
Stuff like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron? Huh?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
Well, you need to watch what you're saying because people could be watching you. Just like that segue, guys. The movie that we're going to talk about for this week. But welcome into another episode of Morons Reviewing Movies. Moron John has returned again. So it's almost like we do 2 episodes in the one night that he stays for both of them.
I always overstay my welcome.
The power of editing means that we're doing this weekly, guys. So remember, we do this every week for you. We are going to be talking about John's favourite movie, and he's a little bit anxious about this one. He doesn't want people to get too excited or shit on it. But the movie we're going to be talking about today is The Truman Show. An insurance salesman discovers his whole life is actually a reality TV show. John, why this movie?
Well, I mean, I'll start off by saying it is one of my favourites ever, which is has been causing me sort of a bit of concern, as I did bring one of my favourites on the last time. And over the months leading up to my debut, Daniel was whining and dining me, flirting with me, paying me compliments, love bombing me. And I come on the show and I bore my soul about Interstellar, and he scanted me for the whole world to see. And the sight they saw was not pretty. So it tore it apart. But to be fair, he did give one of the most nuanced and well balanced arguments against Interstellar that I've heard. So, but I think the Truman Show is just an endlessly kind of fascinating and captivating and relevant concept. Because everything the film says about like the exploitative kind of nature of entertainment is as true now as it was then, and then on the kind of human level as well. If you're just forgetting about the themes of it, because there's people go into it's themes of utopia or religion, but even on just a human level, it's like it strikes a chord because just like I said about Interstellar, to me it's like about loneliness and the need for human connection. Because there's these two. It's kind of. I was only thinking about this earlier. People always reference it to Jim Carrey kind of serious performances as this and Eternal Sunshine, and both are kind of about two souls that are meant to find a way to each other, no matter what the physical or mental barriers are put in between them, whether it's a mental procedure in Eternal Sunshine or literally $1 billion entertainment industry based around keeping this guy in a dome. I think the design of the whole thing is just makes for such. Sorry, Paul, do you want to go?
No. See, when you mentioned Eternal Sunshine, have you done that? No, on the
No.
podcast.
Yeah.
I was considering it, but I don't think I could take the.
That's a great movie as well.
I love that.
One we should do as well.
But I think Sean would. I think I really it really warmed my heart how well he took to me last time. So I wouldn't want to.
I think we know the reason behind that.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to damage our friendship, especially when we're not got to fourth base yet. So you know, but so it makes for the design of it as well as like the posters and the adverts. I think it makes for like a dead kind of immersive experience. It's this kind of American utopia thing, like the 1950s American dream set design of it, with the picket fences and all that, and I just think it makes for a unique, ingenious feel to it. The score, the music throughout, I think it's kind of like melancholic, but also hopeful, which to me is what the Truman Show is. There's a tragedy to it, but I mean, you get to an ending which is as hopeful as any. I think it's one of the best endings I've ever seen. I love the Jim Carrey performance. I think he's kind of animated in the only way he can be. Because people talk about Jim Carrey, and he is a great, brought in a great comedic actors, but he's just a great actor. Full stop. Not many people could do what Jim Carrey does. It's a kind of accessible performance. It's animated when it needs to be, but it's also relatable and familiar. So that because I remember watching this in school, or the first mind that way in school, and they put a film on. How many films did you see in school where you've seen the first 50 minutes because they put it on and then you've got to go in our class? That was a Truman Show for me, and I remember kind of being weirded out by it. But when you get older, you realise you're kind of meant to be weirded out by it because everything shouldn't seem right in the Truman Show. The only thing that you should relate to in Truman Show is Truman himself, and I think Jim Carrey kind of nails it. I think it's paced brilliantly. It fits everything. There's so many themes that it touches on throughout, like 90 odd minutes, that most directors would struggle to handle in 3 hours, without feeling bloated or rushed. I think it moves along at the perfect pace to that ending, which I think is just one of the great punch there moments. See when he's at the top of that staircase and he bows out. I just think that's everything I love about movies, and that's a Truman Show. It's funny, prophetic, romantic, life affirming, and it makes me laugh, smile, cry if I'm tender, and it's probably my favourite film outside Lord of the Rings, and I love it, and I hope that you don't shit on it.
Well, that was going to be my question here, guys. John has put his heart and his soul into his review of the Truman Show there. Who wants to go first and shit all over
it? My tea's ready, I've got to go.
You just put your hand up there yourself, Kels. Is that what you're going to do?
I was coming into my hand was coming in to introduce Burnsy to give his thoughts. So Burnsy, I'm going to assume this was a first time watch for you.
It was, yeah.
Here we go. This is a bit interesting one, John. Someone has watched
pause
it
there.
The first time
Pause there.
In 2023.
No, I was only doing that for effect. I really enjoyed this. I think you've touched on basically all the points that are good about the film. Is that Jim Carrey is class, and this is like, I don't think it could have been casted any better. he's obviously on screen pretty much. There's probably very few scenes that he's not on screen at all, but he was awesome in it, and I think it seemed to fly in. And I was always just intrigued to see. I think what the film did a really good way of showing is that when things start to click, and he has this feeling that there's something wrong, and that is all part of the TV show, which eventually goes further and further. Whereas I think it would have been quite easy to write the film and for it to just come out really quick and be like, that's no. It made you actually feel as if it was believable how it was written as well, which definitely helped my enjoyment of it. It was quite fun to watch, and also it was interesting to see his whole life basically being controlled. The flashbacks that they'd used, I think, worked well as well, so that they didn't need to go that much in depth about his life when he was younger, but they gave you enough of an understanding. You've touched obviously on the ending, how that was done superbly too, and the one thing I sort of picked out on the film, it made me think, obviously, you've got all these people that are on the island, and they're obviously like actors and whatever, and they're all in on it and obviously getting paid to make this TV show and whatever. And then when you see it in various, I think it's in the pub or that, and there's obviously a lot of people that are interested in it, all of them are just all of them know that he's oblivious to it being a TV show, but all of them are that invested in it as well. And they obviously don't really have any care that this one person's life is being controlled by someone else. They just want to be entertained. And there's only that one, the woman's name, but there's the one person obviously he had feelings for when he was going through college or university or whatever. She's the only person throughout the film that actually seems to actually care about it as a human being. Because obviously his dad comes back in, and he's obviously, at the first stage when you see him, he's obviously wanting to reveal to him that it's all a TV show, but even he comes back in and he's sort of getting paid and all that kind of stuff. It just sort of shows like we've said it before, that a lot of humans can be arseholes basically, and this obviously sort of lends it to that thinking as well, because they just want to be entertained. They don't really care how that one person's going to feel when maybe it does eventually get revealed that his life has just been. It's not anything that it seems to be like his best friends, obviously, and of it. His job's obviously there as like a ploy as well, and he's not got any true friends really, and obviously it's all been for the very start of his life when he was born.
I just wanted to say, like, I love this movie as well, and I've seen it multiple times, but I almost feel like it actually hasn't aged that well, because obviously it's trying to make a point about reality shows and kind of like consumer culture and all that, but it's almost like that sort of like reality TV in particular has become a lot more exploitative than what it is in this show. That it almost like, because the longer you get away from when this film was made, it feels like it's no that much of a parody, or because it's like, well, it's already been done to death. Like when they're watching them like sleeping at night, and it's like the camera's like sort of green. That folk actually used to do that with Big Brother. They would actually sit and fucking watch them sleeping at night and all that. So yeah. I mean, that was only about 5 years after this came out, and we're now like 20 years down the line for that as well. So I kind of think in that sense, although I do love it, I think that just because of what's happened since then, it hasn't really aged that well.
I think Big Brother was only 1 year after this.
Aye, no, that's right, and I think that was a concept that had came from other like countries as well, so it might have even been happening at the same time.
I was thinking something that's similar early on, because I was thinking there's some people debate whether this is science fiction, and I think it is, because but I think when this came out, I think it would have been pretty well agreed that this would be a science fiction movie, but now in 2023 it's debatable. But I think that says more about where we've come.
Aye, absolutely.
Than the film itself.
It's not the film, that's what I'm saying.
How far we've descended.
It's not the film's fault that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's like it's because it's such a clever concept, and it's such a great way to try and get across that message that that's where the world's going. But it's went so far the other way that it's just like, and it's the same.
They probably didn't even.
There's a bit where
expect it would go that far.
He's trying to sell the insurance policy to the two twins, And obviously, what they do is they stand them up against a billboard, and obviously, whatever the billboard has got, they're trying to sell that product. But that sort of consumer culture, it's worse than that now. Like the subliminal fucking messaging and like what they put in adverts and all that shit. Like that's what I'm saying. That they don't even try to hide it anymore. So again, it's like that. It's quite funny and ironic that's what they do in that movie. But what happens in real life is much worse than that. So,
considering now, like you'll get targeted ads on your socials for things that you've just thought about.
I agree, Hunter. Targeted ads are frustrating, especially when the offer is a terrible offer. But you know what's not a terrible offer? Is getting free beer courtesy of Beer 52. Simply head over to www.beer52, that's beer52.com/morons, and take advantage of getting some of the world's best craft beer.
It's fucking
you don't even have to search for it.
Exactly.
And as well, see at the it's almost like at the end, the very ending, when it's just the two guys sitting watching the telly and the transmission cuts out and they just look at each other and go, what else is on? That's even with stuff like, there's always another tweet, there's always another you could be sitting watching the most horrific video you've ever seen in your life on TikTok of like cunts getting beheaded or something. You're sitting eating your dinner.
It ends, it just goes on to the next video.
Exactly. It's just, there's always the next thing. No matter how taken in or how disturbing something could be, that you could be watching somebody's life getting ruined. Or
John, you need to remember that we're mid-30s, we're not on TikTok.
I don't really use it that much myself, but
we're still on Bebo.
That's what I'm saying. You've grown out of it. We haven't even reached it. We haven't even got to it.
We're still from the time where if you wanted to see a horrific video, you'd have to go on E-Bombs World and wait to download.
On the dark
Rotten.com. Was it not called Rotten.com as well as a photo?
Oh dear.
Don't search that now, please.
Yeah, don't search that.
Don't search that.
Well, we call the episode Rotten.com and try and get another sponsor.
Yeah. I think that I'd love that. Be sponsored by like the worst people on the earth.
Rotten.com and Netflix.
Morons reviewing movies sponsored by ISIS.
They've kind of fell off now anyway. They need to.
And they've gone mainstream now. They're leaving that. Okay.
Brilliant. See how you mentioned that you'd seen this film at school, John? It must be a thing, because first time I saw this was at school too.
The ones I was used to put on was this, or there was a Kevin Spacey one, which he's probably not allowed in most schools anymore. But it was Pay It Forward. And always used to put that on. So there was times with I think I've still only seen the first 50 minutes of Pay It Forward. You know. So
we had a really lazy RE teacher before I got banned for RE, which happened. I'll tell that story another time. He put this on for us, and I loved it as a wee guy. And I was like that age then, this is how old we are, John. I was about 12 when I saw this, I think. 12, 13. When I saw it at high school. And I was just that age where I started thinking about what if everyone is like just an actor? What if it's all just like my TV show? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's shit as a wee guy. And it did make you think a lot as a young guy. Now as I'm a bit older, I do agree with the fact it's maybe no aged quite as well as it could have. I don't think necessarily just because cultures went beyond it. I just think, I don't know, it's good. I really like it, and it's not going to get a bad score for me, but it's certainly not a mind-blowing movie for me. I think it's decent enough. It's got a few wee questions about how legitimately they could have got this guy to fucking his age, whatever he is, in his 30s, without him ever just questioning it. Like, and then suddenly he's questioning everything in the small 2 or 3 days that we get to meet him. Like, I don't know, there's a few things that are a wee bit difficult to believe about it, but I'm not one of those cunts. I'm just taking the place of Sean, who would normally talk about that sort of shit.
Now, I've made a note about that. Like, obviously, he's discussed the sort of like dalliance he has with is it Sylvia? Is that what her name is? No?
Yeah, Cynthia or something.
And like, obviously, I wrote in my notes, like, if this was televised and she was obviously going to give away all the secrets to him about this wasn't real and that, they would have just cut the transmission. Do you know what I mean? like because they said that was televised.
Yeah. The reason they didn't is now it gives the audience intrigue to think that he might find out one day. So that's really clever TV. See, I think that's done on purpose, Dubs, right? Because really clever TV making, right? Now you think that he's going to find out. So that's the exciting bit. Folk are watching it. Oh, he's going to find out one day that he's in a TV show because now there's been that hint that he might find out. It's like it's like keeping watching WWE pay-per-views thinking Roman Reigns is going to get beat, but he's never going to get beat. He's going to keep but it's the idea that it might happen. So that's why they would do that, I would think. I think that's one of the clever things about
I'm just playing devil's advocate with that bit, but right away I was like, if there's someone controlling this, they could easily like just cut her out of this completely, and the lie could carry on.
There's loads of interesting parts within it though, like the scene where the main creator guy talks about the fact that we're just going to have a new love interest coming at some point. Like they were already predetermined what was going to happen. So like those kind of things. When I was watching, because I've seen this loads and loads of times as well, and I've always been a big fan of it. When I was watching it today, I was like, God, there's so much more of this I want to see. Like I want to understand how did they get to that point where they cut off his relationship with her. Like the bit where he sees her with her fingers crossed, that's always a bit that irks me the most in this movie. I'm like, it's the shittest way for him to start chatting stuff. And I know he's started to think like, oh, what's that? Why is that doing that? I'm seeing repetition here. But surely he's seen that a million times. It's like, you would have known before now, but the fingers being crossed was a bit, I was like, oh God, like, the scene where they're having the argument and she shouts for someone to save her. That could have been done with foot. That could be done on anything. Like she's broke something that was his, or he's got annoyed and he's got really pissed off and aggressive because he thinks he's in the safety of his own home, and she's fearful, so she shouts for help, and then that becomes, who are you shouting for? And then the pal comes to the door. That can all just continue. Just take out that little bit where he looks at the photo album, and it makes it a little bit better. But I suppose that's them looking for a way to get him.
It's not the best smoking gun type thing, is it? I know what you mean.
There isn't many faults with the movie, to be fair. I think the Laura Linney character, she's excellent. His missus is brilliant in it. Like I think the whole bits where she's cuts to doing adverts and he's looking at like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's just so fake and manufactured. I think somebody was saying about this like kind of idyllic 50s lifestyle. It's funny though because when they say obviously he's going to have a new love interest. I'm sure she's got the exact same sort of colour scheme, like a red jumper, blonde hair. Like she doesn't say anything, and she doesn't have any lines, but she's just cut for the same cloth as his existing wife. I thought that was really interesting.
Because that's good for selling stuff, That
that Christoph guy actually says that this is the way life should be, and it's the most fucking saccharine, like vanilla, like lifestyle that he's got. It's terrible. Like his wee phony greetings in the morning, and then obviously he ends the film with that. If I don't see you, good afternoon, good night, or whatever. It's just it's all phony. It's all fake. Which all that stuff just fucking makes my skin crawl. Like, and everybody does it. You know what I mean?
The one gripe I've always had for this, even for when I first started, like, see if you're going to create a fictional world for a character so that it can be a star of a TV show, right? Why do you give him so much? Why does he have to know that the rest of the world exists? Why does he need to know that there's like, know how they show the picture and it's like the what's the name of the big mountain with the faces on it in America?
Mount Rushmore.
And then he's like, oh, that looks a bit small because it's obviously just like an ornament in the background. Why does he need to know that exists? Like they can create his reality.
Yeah.
Like, why is it hard for themselves?
It's like they're giving him the clues to his own like puzzle.
Like why would you
what they tried to dress it up as is they tried to make it out like from an early age he was really like and intrigued by the world, and he was like an explorer a wee bit. So
so what I would tell him is
they also I don't know if there was any significance to this, but you know when he opens his big sort of like chest or like thing of like keepsakes and all that, he's dressed as like a wee boy. Like I thought that was really even though when I'm talking about when he's a grown adult, but he's is really like it's
pajamas.
It's way younger, than what it's. I just thought that was really strange.
But sorry, just before you come in, Burns, I'll just to finish that point. To me, like you could tell the story that there's a giant fucking mega Godzilla monster in the ocean, and that's why you can't leave the island. Do you mean or nothing exists outside?
And that's it done.
It'd be a more interesting social experiment, I think, if he was just like unaware of the rest of the world and he thought that he just lived in one wee place and that was all that existed. But anyway, sorry, Burnsy.
No, that's all right. I think what they did do is I thought they did quite a good way of sort of making it look as if he wasn't really that bright throughout the film. So, like, in terms of he wasn't probably going to ever figure it out. To me, it was like, although he's got this job and he's, what is he selling, like insurance and stuff? I didn't even really pay attention to that bit. But it was, to me, it was as if he wasn't really that good at the job that he was doing, but he was just obviously planted there for the TV show. And then the other bit as well is obviously when he's in the car and then he, you know how they get when they're through the radio station that ends up picking up the signal that's for everyone to listen to that's maybe about him. But then how's he never obviously stumbled on the TV channel when his show's been on? You know what I mean?
They're obviously not going to show him that inside the door, you Fanny.
Oh no, what I mean is like, so like you'd think obviously the people that are living there are going to have access to it as well. To me, it was like that seemed a bit. But then also is like the bit I did like, which I thought was just perfect for the actual way that everyone else is towards them through the film is when they get to the end, and Christoph is like, the words he basically says to him is like, "I'm doing you a favor because I've made you this mega star for a TV show," and he still wasn't backing down and said that he should really be thankful for him, even though his life's just a complete lie and none of it's real. Like I thought that was really perfect for the way the full film actually goes from start to finish. Instead of being apologetic in any way, he just stands his ground and he's like, you should stick with it because I've made you like a famous person and you shouldn't have any regrets or hate me in one way at all. Whereas obviously he still just kind of goes, nah, fuck you. I'm leaving. But no, I don't think there was any bad points about the film at all. I don't think it's up there with the best we've watched though. Like the very top tier ones. But yeah, it was definitely something that I would recommend. And if it was on the TV or that, I would probably give it another watch too.
See that as well. It wasn't. So you're talking about a rewatch kind of thing. I didn't. I really enjoyed it the first time I watched it, but it was nowhere near the level of kind of adoration I have for it now. Do you know what I mean? So like, I wouldn't really expect. I think it does have that kind of rewatch factor to it as well. It's kind of similar to stuff, even the stuff like Lord of the Rings for that. For me, I just love that more and more each time. It wasn't just it all instantly clicked the first time I ever watched
this
it.
one though, it's because there's so many subliminal things slotted in there that you could watch.
You'll see something new every time.
You would, definitely.
That's the way I'm with the UK office. Like every watch you have, I fall in love more with it. It's even like wee mannerisms and all that. Yeah, I love that.
Hunter, what was your thoughts?
I am very much a big fan of this film.
Won't somebody hate it?
Why don't you just make up a review for Sean and just say, Sean's review texted in?
I'll give it a bash first, right? I'm just off the top of my head here. So, guys, I got Sean's review in. So it starts off with, fuck's sake, why have I needed to watch another movie I didn't want to watch? Who cares about this guy on an island? Everything's about him. I'd love that, but I hate the film.
I'm a simple guy.
He must like ready salted crisps. That's kind of thing he's into. Hail. Hail 085.
Go on, Hunter.
It's like he's in the room right with us.
That is. So kind of. There is one thing, if I do have one slight bone to pick, and it's we've kind of touched on it about, well, this is just sort of weak in his life where he becomes very inquisitive and wanting to know answers, wants to know the escape, kind of starts understanding more that maybe he is all these things about it being like this isn't a real world he's in essentially. But it also kind of, Burnsy kind of touched on it, like first of all the radio station starts to go, and then he manages to stumble into that office building, the lift, and like they were there. Are you trying to say in 30 years? It's nothing of this ever happened before. It just all just seems to coincidentally start happening the same week that he becomes inquisitive about the life that he's living in at this moment.
Did they actually make it clear? I didn't pick. Yous obviously have all talked about how it's within such a short time period. I didn't actually pick up how short the timeline of the film was, but I don't know if that was just me being stupid or whatever. Or
It
whether
feels like days. It feels like a few days to me.
Right.
I'm sure at the end when Christoph's talking on the interview, he says the events of this week have made it perfect for, I think it was to bring in the new wife storyline or the
right, okay.
so I think that was it. But I know what you mean about the 30 years thing, but see, as somebody that is generally pretty far from inquisitive about things going on around me, like I'm the type of guy that I will only go to the doctors if my leg's hanging off type of thing, and it could, in 30 years down the line, that could come back on me type thing. But I generally take the reality that's presented unto me. So I reckon that'd be a good subject for the Jay McKay show.
Why do you think or can he actually explain his job? It's because we've just got our brief backgrounds that we've got to give you. We're really just shit.
Yes.
Podcast was all built to get you on it every 5 months, John. That's what it was.
Oh yeah.
But kind of also as well, just kind of thing I want to touch on is like part of that, obviously everyone being like sort of paid actors and whatever. So also like the moral kind of question maybe here is essentially, so every one of Truman's, let's say, call them conquests, are basically being prostituted for him to like these women are basically being paid to have sex with him.
Because Christoph goes like he
Just like
plans to have the
Scientology,
first
basically.
on air live conception.
Yeah.
Is that even legal?
Well, guys, I want to ask you, when you're going through your tender teenage years of the ages 14 to 18 and you're spending time in your bedroom when the camera's on, would that have been a pretty sight for folk watching?
Depends
But
what
then-
part of the internet you're on, I suppose, eh?
What we would say is kind of on that is the sort of Dubs was sort of touching on about how far reality TV's gone since then, like kind of with Big Brother and on Love Island. It's now almost celebrated if somebody gets caught humping on fucking camera, like it's
completely accepted.
Yep.
Aye, we've had it already, like Geordie Shore and all that. Was that no loads of folk just shagging on fucking cameras and all that?
Aye, they were either pissing the bed or shagging, like there was no two ways between it.
But I think things have got a lot more wild since the Truman Show, but it maybe helps that they moulded him into this sort of really placid, sort of day-to-day guy that wasn't really going to do anything exciting. It was quite lucky, I suppose, they ended up like that. But
they're kind of maybe selling it as like, as I said, maybe like with the, as we kind of touched on with the perfect sort of religious church-going 1950s American dream lifestyle that they're only consenting, consummating the relationship for the purpose of creating life rather than just for the sake of it, because nothing else to do on a Saturday afternoon, kind of like most folk do.
Well, they did mention that when a couple of guys were saying that when they watch it and they are shagging on it, it goes to like the curtains or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just had to sneeze. Aye, so it is weird to think that they're not even showing all the gratuitous stuff. So the guy was like, "I wanted to have the first on-air conception," but for what the guys that were watching were saying, that you didn't actually get to see them having sex anyway. It just like,
yeah.
That's the way to nice music and like the curtains blowing about and all that sort of thing. So, I mean, it is weird. It definitely captured how Big Brother took over, because I still remember the very first season of Big Brother, and the world was obsessed with it. Like the whole country was obsessed. What these folk lived
Because
their mundane.
it was a genuinely interesting experiment. They just put all these fucking random folk in a house, and it was like, and then they started like backbiting each other and plotting against each other.
Was the first one, was it the Nasty Nick? Was
Nasty
that the first
Nick,
of a Big Brother?
And it was genuinely like hypnotic television. And then what they started doing was putting in folk with like fucking 3 heads in it and that, and like it was just like they started trying to pick people, people to put in there, and they were just boring as fuck. Like, and it just completely fucking fell off a cliff.
It became a lot of people that wanted to be famous that went into it.
Yeah.
Absolutely desperate for it.
Didn't you watch The Traitors last year?
Yes.
Nah.
What'd you think of that?
I binged like 10, 11 episodes in the one day. Like
I fucking loved it. I know.
It was superb because it's basically there's like that kind of viral game that went during COVID, Among Us. It's essentially you have to find the liars amongst you, and it's really really good actually. It's interesting watching how people can manipulate other people right the way through it for good and bad. It's very very addictive.
Yeah, because I'm an absolute fraud. I'm sitting here like, the Truman Show is a really damning vindication of how far we've descended. But dangle me a bit of reality, and I'll do anything. Honestly.
Well, funny that we did ask the general public on our Instagram for some names of what a TV show would be if it was based around John as a reality show. To give you some ones that they have been re-put onto our Instagram, but we got, as you just heard, an impression. We got one called The Impressionist. We got one from our friend at What We Watching Tonight, which was Masters of Sex.
Oh yeah.
Why? Not quite sure why Chris is going for that one. We got The Emperor's New Groove, because he looks like a llama. And then we got one that I've not actually just seen, a new one that came in from Kieran at the movies as The Hater.
The Hater? Well, I'll be DMing him.
Aye, man. Get him to tell.
We're going to have a lover's tiff later. People on the couch.
And I'll not say what your good lady said. That's not right for the air.
Well, all pretty good one. I'll probably go with The Impressionist for that one. But it's been said. It's been said from time to time. You know.
I think that one suits you the best, man. Have we got any good? I bet there's loads of good trivia for this, Hunter, because I accidentally saw them. I was even just like looking about the film.
Accidentally.
Quite loads, a fair bit. So number one I've got here is that Ed Harris and Jim Carrey never met during filming.
Oh, that's quite cool.
I just remind me. I remember when I first started the page, and I did a rewatch post for Truman Show, and I put much like the spiel that I gave you earlier, a very impassioned, waxing lyrical about the Truman Show. I didn't realise till 2 days later that I'd called Ed Harris Ed Helms, which is the cunt for The Hangover. See the dentist. Something I messed with that here. By the way, I don't think Ed Helms is in the Truman Show. Made that total. I think I was like 2 days into the page, so I could have just chucked it then. But here I am.
We spent a whole episode calling Patrick Stewart Patrick Swayze.
Oh, that.
Aye, so originally Dennis Hopper was cast as Christoph. However, he walked off the set on his first day.
Oh, so he was actually cast?
Yep.
Fucking hell.
Why did they walk off?
It doesn't say. We've just got Ed Harris replaced him. Hopper then went on to a supporting role in Ed TV, which has a striking similarities to the premise of The Truman Show.
Yeah.
That's not one. It's on my watch list though. Is Matthew McConaughey in that one?
Yeah. I think so. Anyway.
All right. I did that on the last time I was on. I'm rehashing them.
Rehashing that one, man. I like
it. Too many episodes now. You've maxed out your impressions.
All 4 have been done.
Creative differences was the reasons for leaving. That's it.
I thought it was like Tommy Lee Jones just couldn't suffer Jim Carrey on Batman. Is it Batman Returns or Batman Forever?
Batman Forever.
I could just picture Dennis Hopper just being there one day of watching him like, nah, for this. Which is probably why Sean's on holiday right now, actually. He's not on with me.
I was going to bring up about that. Obviously, we're talking about Jim Carrey, and like he probably doesn't get the props that he deserves for his actual acting. Like obviously, a lot of the stuff he's done was comedic. But has anybody?
You've not seen Dark Crimes yet, so bite your tongue in there.
Has anyone ever? Obviously, he's seen Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
Any seen the documentary about it? No.
I watched that recently. Jim and Andy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's one of the fucking wildest things I've ever watched.
He's just fully immersed in it.
Yeah.
Who was it when he met Jerry Lawler? When Jim met Jerry Lawler and Jerry Lawler's getting proper
So I think that was like a kind of like a setup.
A work.
Whole thing, a work guy. But there's a scene where Jim Carrey in character as Andy Kaufman, in character as is it Tony Clifton, one of his characters, is talking to the director, and it's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
That's right.
It's like the director's trying to talk to a person who's pretending to be another person about another person, and two of the people didn't actually exist that they're discussing. It's fucking one of the weirdest things. And Jim Carrey's just his explanations about why he did all this stuff, and then he kind of just starts ranting about, like, it's quite fascinating, but it's quite interesting, obviously, that he was in this film, and obviously he's the focus of this whole fake world that's been created. When, like, I feel like kind of Jim Carrey's kind of got that going on in his own head a wee bit. He kind of has just kind of went through the looking glass a wee bit.
Aye, there's a bit. He does feel a wee bit unhinged at times, Jim Carrey. But I think you have to be so balls out in your performances like he is.
100%. Aye.
Because like even you're talking about his comedic stuff, right? The reason he was such a massive comedy star is because he is like fucking full on into whatever that character is. Whether it was like The Mask or like Ace Ventura or whatever it was, he was like, aye, nobody else could do that, man. Like I was the perfect age for the height of Jim Carrey, where he was like smashing out comedy after comedy every fucking year. Like, I love him. He's brilliant, but he's good in all his serious stuff as well. I just think the film industry feels like it's passed him by a wee bit now.
That's the thing, because he says, I don't know if he actually talks about it in that documentary, but he wrote himself a check. You've heard about that story, no?
He
went on Oprah and he said that he wrote himself a check. And obviously, when he became a success, obviously he was able to cash it. But then, as quickly as he kind of hit that fame, he almost like he just kind of rejected it all, because he just couldn't be bothered with the bullshit and the kind of fakeness of Hollywood and that. And now he's just like, he just does whatever he wants now. He doesn't do.
I'm pretty sure he's been in, not bother, but there's been kind of vax stuff and just kind of stuff that kind of makes him a kind of bit of an outcast. But I watched him in the Sonic movies, and he was fucking brilliant. And I just kind of took it as like him just doing a couple of movies that he'd enjoy and reminding everybody that he's still the man. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
Even in them, I was like, nobody else could be that kind of zany, over the top, but make it work in the way he animated. Because it is like watching, like, people say Wes Anderson tries to create a live version of an animated film. Jim Carrey is like a live version of an animated protagonist or antagonist.
It's like he's made it elastic or something like that.
Aye,
doesn't make sense, some of the things he does with his face and his.
I was watching The Apartment the other week with Jack Lemmon. He definitely, if there's anybody that he took inspiration from, it would be Jack Lemmon. But he's took what he done and like just put a dynamite in it.
Went nuclear.
Aye, exactly.
It's went wild. But have you ever seen a film he done called The Number 23?
Yes.
I think I have seen that.
Sort of like a horror type, serious, semi-serious psychological thing.
I think I might actually turn that off.
Yeah, it's fucking weird, man. But it's worth watching. Like, it's not as bad as Dark Crimes, but it's Jim Carrey doing something a bit different. He's always been brave. I think he's always been brave with his choices. Like, but this one was the first time that he ever did anything serious. This was like so shocking to folk at the time. So he'd only ever done comedies before this film, I'm pretty sure.
And this film getting ignored so much for the Oscars, because Ed Harris, I'm probably nicking some trivia here, but Ed Harris got an Oscar nomination, but Jim Carrey didn't. And the film didn't get a Best Picture. It was Shakespeare in Love, and apparently the reason that film got so much lavish on it was because Weinstein was going about pressuring people to vote for his big film. Because Shakespeare in Love's fucking terrible. It's just a period piece dross.
Every time we do a movie on this, like the ones that we shit on, and then when we get to the trivia, it'll be like, this was nominated for about 9 Oscars and that. I'm like, fuck me, man. Like, it's just
it's a pure sham when you realise how much it is. The Spike Sleazy producers and all that.
Yeah, Absolutely.
Thumbing people and all that.
The fact that clown that did Christoph got nominated in Carrie Never, like, I didn't think
Exactly,
he wasn't bad in it, but Christ almighty.
I mean, I'd probably
Recently
say,
watched
like,
this
for
movie
me,
and it's Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
we thought about how good Carey is, and as I think for me, this film, like, I probably get me, it stands out his performance in it, even compared to somebody like Liar Liar, Ace Ventura, The Mask, The Riddler. I think this, because there's that, although there is still some comedic tendencies to his role, I think he pulls off the serious side to this role great.
Yeah.
For me, I do think it is his outstanding performance. Is this?
Aye. Eternal Sunshine as well, though. That's one I've only maybe seen it a couple of times, but I'd definitely like to see that one again in its full.
Yeah.
Aye. I went to see it. That got re-released in the Greenock Cinema showed that a couple weeks ago. We went to see it. Brilliant film. Absolutely brilliant.
I think that would divide the morons, like.
I think we should definitely do that for this. I'll maybe pick that for next week time.
I should have invited you down because I all went to the Greenock
Yeah.
Cinema. I was up your way recently at the Kelpies.
That sounds quite erotic, actually.
Yeah.
Came all the way to the Kelpies and didn't even come and see the Morons.
I was up your way.
And as punishment for that, John, the Morons are going to request that you review a movie on your page, and we would say Dark Crimes would be a perfect one for you to review and let us know your thoughts.
Okay, I do not want to know any about anyone's dark crimes on here because I'm sure there's quite a lot of them.
You still owe us for the French Dispatch. Don't think we've forgotten.
Yeah, and you got to remember, I didn't choose that out of love for it. I think I came across you guys at the same time as I went to see that, and I started listening. I was like, if anybody's going to back me up in this. It's these miserable bastards.
Just before Hunter, I come back to you for the trivia. I was just seeing there was an original script made for the Truman Show that got dropped, and it was a darker script where it says Truman had a drinking problem. The film's original premise. He was cheating on his wife with prostitutes, of course, but he didn't know that it was a world's worst kept secret. His affair was televised, and then there was another scene where he fails to intervene in an assault in a subway, and it was set in New York.
Aye, but also on that as well, I think that assault on the subway, or there was definitely one of the earlier scripts, it was actually a rape he didn't intervene with.
I guess Brian De Palma was meant to direct at one stage, so I'd imagine that would be his version. He's more of a gritty.
Aye.
And I'm sure. Aye, and Carlito's Way and
Untouchables, no.
Yeah, I think that was De Palma as well. He did Carrie as well. But I mean, I would probably enjoy that film, but I like the fact that the version we got was just so full of.
It sounds like more like a Taxi Driver vibe or something. Sounds awful.
Well, we've had good fun with this one. Hunter, you any more trivia before we move on to the scores?
I do, yes. So also, I've not got it written down, but I do remember from doing my research was the original premise also for as well had Truman set as like just leaving high school, and they basically had to then rethink the whole role when Carey got cast in the role. So basically,
because he was too old looking.
It's funny that see the flashback scenes to high school, and we're supposed to suspend belief, but they just put like a fringe on.
It's really awful. He does because they try to make him look younger, and all he does is like smiles a wee bit more.
Aye, at all. A couple of other interesting facts just I know about this film is that they've tried to be clever to have like the layers within it. So obviously it's a TV show within a film that you're watching. So on the radio and within the town that he stays in, you can only get classical music on the radio, you'll notice. That's because as a TV show, they wouldn't want to pay the fees for any licenses for any actual music. So the radio station within the wee town only gets classical music. So I
thought that was the music that they piped into his motor to keep him like fucking neutered and calm. Do you know what I mean? Like I thought that was intentional.
I know, so it is intentional.
It's like a wee classical like song that plays all the way through it, and I thought that was they were kind of.
Like the only like, pop music you hear in the thing is the flashback they're playing
The
T-Rex.
Aye.
I think it's T-Rex. 20th
Aye, but yeah,
Century Boy.
it's like
I think that T-Rex song is a cover of an old song. Is
Aye.
it? The song
So-
that's playing is the old version.
Aye, so that's
Oh,
what
right,
it is,
right.
aye.
No, I
It's
don't
not the T-Rex version it's playing, sorry.
Aye, I think it is the T-Rex one. But either way, because I think it is meant to be set in the 90s, like when it is set, because everyone outside it, it's quite a modern world outside it where it's set. I don't think it's meant to be like back in the 70s or whatever. But the other interesting thing is there was a beer brand made up for this film. That was a brand that was just promoted within the show.
Keep holding the can.
Keep holding the
logo
can.
showing at all times, aye.
And I can't remember all the other films, but other films have used it since then, and loads of TV shows have used it. And it's been in hundreds of different stuff. That beer that was originally from the Truman Show, they've put it in loads of different shows and films like ever since. It's
Every time his neighbour drinks it, he's like that, and the label's fucking showing like
labels. So it's become such a famous thing that other folk have like put it in as like a little nod towards the Truman Show and loads of other films and stuff like that. So that beers and loads of different shit. There you go. That's my facts about the Truman Show.
Go. Right. As we kind of touched on with the Oscar nominations, it was the only film that year that was nominated for Best Director but not Best Picture.
There are a few things in life that you must check. You must check your wages are in the bank at the end of the month. You must check one of your friends hasn't made an illegal transfer in your fantasy league. And you must also check
Your legs.
Cajonas Scotland have the website for you to learn how to do just that. Head over to cajonasscotland.org for your self-help guide on how to check your bollocks.
Had 3 nominations in total. Did they win any of them?
I think the fact that Carey didn't get anything,
Yeah.
but Ed
Well,
has
I
it.
made a nomination yet.
I think the Oscars are kind of looking down on him a wee bit there because he's this similar to the way Tommy Lee Jones kind of looked at him. He's just a kind of clown. I think they probably. I mean, they've been like that for you. They've got it in for horror. You'll never see anything nominated for horror. But Get Out was a kind of exception. But I reckon he's kind of fell foul of that. Even Adams, I know you didn't like Uncut Gems, but I think I loved Uncut Gems. But
Uncut Gems was well received, I thought, from what I remember.
Was it?
We liked Uncut Gems.
Do you know, maybe I'm just looking at it with the Mandela effect or something, the moron effect.
I think if some people look at the scores and see like if it's like it starts with a 3 that we've not liked it, but that's actually like well,
an average.
Uncut Gems is 60th on our list with a 3.65, which is relatively quite good.
That's pretty good. I'm talking absolute crap. Just ignore me.
Well, just on the Oscar thing, looking at the best actors, the ones that were nominated was Ed Norton in American History X, Nick Nolte in Affliction, Ian McKellen in Gods and Monsters, Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan, and the winner was Roberto Benigni from Life is Beautiful.
Oh, I remember that winning.
No, I do like Life is Beautiful, but not on a Truman Show for me.
Not on the Truman Show.
And even when you think about the other films, it could have won over Shakespeare in Love, like Saving Private Ryan or fucking American History X, which I love. Well, I've only seen it once. I don't know how
that wasn't even nominated.
I was not for Best Picture.
No.
Aye. It's just a sham. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Aye, sham. It's a sham. Any more trivia, Hunter, before we finish off?
Yes. So as John had touched on earlier, there were different directors attached to this project at different points, and during that process with different directors, were there 2 people that were considered for the role of Truman were Gary Oldman and Robin Williams.
Both would have been brilliant.
Aye.
In different ways, like it would be totally different film.
I can't see Oldman doing it.
I think that was maybe we were talking about like the Brian De Palma stuff, and it was going to be a lot darker and grittier than maybe got Oldman in at that point.
I think Gary Oldman can date absolutely anything.
He can now. If you look at the parts that he's played, it's like the most range of any actor probably ever lived.
Well, I know I keep talking about the Tommy Lee Jones thing. I have got some other music knowledge, by the way. I don't the film knowledge. Fucking hell.
Morons reviewing music.
I think people said that he signed on to that because he thought Robin Williams was initially signed on to do the Riddler, and then I don't know why he backed out, but then it was Carey, and he hated him.
I think over history, most parts that Robin Williams gets, Jim Carrey's probably gone for, and vice versa. They've probably got the same auditions to their full career, like both been up for everything. Because how many folk are there that are kind of that? They're the only two that are that quite extreme for their generation.
It's like Matthew Broderick and Michael J. Fox back in the day.
Back in the day, aye. So you only get so many parts, I suppose.
Says here that Robin Williams never took the role as the Riddler because he didn't get on with Joel Schumacher.
Aye, mind the last time John was on, I mixed up Joel Schumacher and Dennis Villeneuve.
Very close.
Aye, just because I got.
That's some F1 knowledge you fucking impacted this.
Aye. I think me lightly correcting you on that was what spurred you on to completely stab me in the back with Interstellar. Betray me.
I do.
Well,
I quite like
you were going to give it a 4.5, and then I did that, and you're like, nah.
Fuck it.
Let's be tramp figuring out.
The fact that you brought it up again has made me take a point off this one, to be fair. So,
well, I'm sure we're not going to be stabbing in the back with the scores that come for the Truman Show. So, John, kick it off with your score for the Truman Show.
Well, as you know, I'm a bit of a whore with my scores. I'll just fly at 10s out of 10s to anything. But this is, I mean, my top 5 films of all time. The top 3 go to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, with Fellowship being the first. Number 5 is Juno, and number 4 is The Truman Show. So I'm going to give us 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5 for me.
Juno and The Truman Show above Interstellar?
Yes, yeah. Interstellar would be somewhere in the top 15.
Well,
I've not sat and thought about it for a while.
If we decide to get you back for another date, maybe Lord of the Rings could be movies that the boys would enjoy watching.
I do think it's quite nice.
I've heard of that, but I wouldn't know anything about it.
Juno is
no, but a young lassie gets up with Duff.
Yes.
Good.
And they decide to give up for adoption. It's that kind of indie spirited. See them kind of things films that are big at the end of like the 2000s, where it feels like it's an indie film, but it's not actually. But that was like the one that kicks that, and Little Miss Sunshine were the ones that like pure kick-started that kind of Michael Cera trend, wasn't it? But I love it.
Like music that's played with a tiny little guitar instead of a real guitar. Yeah. Ukuleles, that's what it is.
Hey, Daniel.
I am giving this a 3.75.
3.75. Dubs?
Yeah. I'll ditto that one as well.
Hunter?
Quattro.
Oh, Burnsy?
Also 4, please.
I'm going to go higher than a lot of the Morons, and I'm going to go 4.25.
Wow.
I actually watched this twice in the last 2 weeks.
Nice.
I think it does have that very kind of. I think I've done the similar before. It's very easy to, because it's only 90 odd minutes, isn't it?
I watched it recently, and then I was working from home today, and I went downstairs and turned the TV on. It came up, continue watching the Truman Show. I was like, I'll watch it again. Why not?
I did that with Citizen Kane when we reviewed that. I watched it twice in the fortnight or whatever, just because it was.
I've only ever watched that once. I could never quite. I enjoyed it, but I could never see why it's so.
No, I didn't think that either. I just thought that there was a lot of layers and a lot of things in it that I thought I'm going to watch that again. But I never did it. I don't even think I scored it as high as this.
No. What does that do to the overall scoring?
4.13.
4.13?
Yep.
A 4.13 puts this movie... Wait for it. 27th on the list. It is just behind The Godfather, which was ruined by Sean. Sean gave that a 2. It is a very small point behind The Wolf of Wall Street, White Men Can't Jump, Home Alone, Die Hard, Jaws, and it's slightly in front of Misery and Black Swan.
In fact, on that, Bumsy, did you count in Sean Zero for this too? The scores?
I'll need to send those separately now.
I'm happy with that. 27th.
That's high, like.
Aye.
What did Interstellar get? Can you check
Shafted,
that?
I think.
I know I was the only one to give. Well, you get it a 4.5 as well, didn't you?
Interstellar is 66 on the list with a 3.58.
Right.
pretty
I'm
decent.
I'm slowly climbing up.
Aye, man. This is you hitting.
so-
You're hitting a peak now.
When you hit us with
only
Lord of the
downhill
Rings
from there.
next, that'll be a contender for number 1.
Do we
Aye.
think?
If Sean's off.
If you pick the first one, I'm right behind you on that. I think
Yeah.
that's a masterpiece. One of the best.
I've
films.
not seen them, but I can't imagine me liking Lord of the Rings.
Nah, you'll like the first one. You'll like the first.
Oh,
Sean's
no.
there, I'll probably still
Bumsy's
straight on.
going into this after we've Shortly of the Hobbit, so he's going to be like in his mind.
No,
I can't believe he's watched that before you did Lord of the Rings. I think that's unbelievable.
it was back when we were doing the votes. It won some sort of
Oh,
vote.
right. See that I enjoyed that. To be fair, I enjoyed because I'd just go into your vote and pick whatever was the worst one.
Once the vote did that, that's what we ended up with this shite.
That makes up for the best content, though, doesn't it? When you just listen to all the sighs before you start speaking.
I think our funniest episode was when we did Doctor Sleep recently. Like that was just it's the biggest.
Another
piece
one
of
that
shit.
I liked, actually.
Oh my god! Fuck off.
Oh no, I hated that
Get
one.
started.
He's not coming back.
We should maybe bring the vote back for one season. We'll do some votes for every. If he's up to like,
well,
we get picks for the categories and that.
Well, before we sign off and say goodbye to John for joining us this episode, just to let you know, the next 2 movies that are going to be coming up were selected by us. We have Casino coming up and Air. Have you seen these ones, John?
It's just next to Kilmarnock, isn't it?
You've peaked.
Oh, no, on that
You've
note,
peaked.
the Morons bid you farewell. Casino, class. Air, also class.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not giving my opinion away too much for free, you know. That's another
I've
2
not-
episodes.
I've not seen Air yet, so I'm looking forward to
It's
seeing that.
fascinating. It's because there's a kind of current trend of these kind of corporate biopics, which is kind of once the R starts getting ripped out, I will start rolling my eyes at it because it'll eventually start like taking out all these companies. Amazing, but that was a good one.
I think it started with the Blackberry movie, which has got Glenn Howard in it. Who I know you-
I quite enjoyed that, to be fair, but Air was better, I thought.
It was a Blackberry movie.
Aye.
Oh wow.
Cool. What did you use?
The extras one, which I didn't like.
Well,
What did you use Blackberry for, Kyle?
I used to sell phones for Blackberries. But to sign off this episode, just want to say a thanks again to John for joining us. Please give him a follow on his Instagram account. That's JMCK88 Films. You will find him on there with a Truman Show picture as his profile picture as well.
I can't believe they made the JMK8 Films profile picture into a real film.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure the
Cheers for having us on again, but lads, I thoroughly enjoy it. These are
Aye, man. We'll get you
they're a
back.
great bunch
another-
of young chaps.
We are.
Exactly.
But as Morons do bid you farewell. This is where we need a funny quip. John, go and give us your best impression to finish off.
Good evening. I'm John Mackay. Now here's Kyle with the scores.
Sorry I don't speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun! You fucking moron!
Stuff like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
Bid you farewell and good luck, morons. Bye.